Hi, so you're probably here because you struggle, at least to some degree, with focus, right? And that's what we're talking about. I just want to give you a few thoughts, and I've written a lot more down below, but focus is like an overwhelming topic because almost everybody I talk to that struggles in business, they list focus as like their number one thing that keeps them from being productive, from moving towards their goals and accomplishing things and so forth. And I think it's something we all struggle with. I struggle with it, right? You see kids coming through, through school, can't go, 10 minutes without checking their cell phones. I mean, you see adults that can't do that, right? So we live in a world that, whether we like it or not, comes into our lives, interrupts our inner circle constantly, all day long. There's a study that shows that if you add up all the interruptions on an average workday, it can add up to about 6 hours a day. 6 hours worth of interruptions. Now, that was just one study, but I mean, even if it was half of that, that's an insane amount of wasted time. And I don't know if you've ever felt this way when you're trying to get through the day and you've got 47 tabs open on your on your web browser, and of course the notifications all show up on the tabs now. And Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube and emails and constantly, right? And then YouTube's got it figured out because at the end of a video, they show 9 more, right? They're showing little icons and they know what you want. They spend millions of dollars to figure out what you want. So you've got an entire industry, even the advertising industry, who's figured out what you want, and they have spent gobs and gobs of money on psychology, on the way you think, on what you're doing, where you're going, all these things just to attract you. And their sole purpose is to get you to stop what you're doing and put your eyeballs on something else. In other words, lose focus, right? So unfortunately, that's the reality of the world we live in. So here's you, and let's say, ooh, right? That's you. And you're trying to get to your goal. Actually, let me write that. This is your goal. So, right? So this is your goal, and you're trying to get to the end prize, right? The finish line, as we call it. And technically, all a goal is a direction for you to go, okay? So we're set. We got our goals. We got our to-do lists. We jump in and we start going, right? But what happens, right? In reality, life kicks in, and you start going up here, you get distracted. Oh, overcorrect. You're going to go down here, and then you do this, and you're like, oh, wait a second, and you go back over here, and then this comes up, and you're like, and your path to get to here, if you untangle this string, it's like 10 times longer than from here to here than what it would have been, this. So the path to get to where your goal is becomes so much longer, not because your goal is way, way out there, but because the path you've created to get to your goal is winding up and down and back and forth. We went to a lake just last weekend, and we were camping. And if you took a straight line from my house to the lake, like in other words, if we jumped in a helicopter and just whoosh, straight across, it would have taken like an hour to get there. Instead, it took almost 4 hours. Now, while we were going, it was like this. The road was going like this because it follows the edge of the mountainside. I know you've been on trips. You probably recognize it's kind of fun. You can get car sick a little bit if you're not careful, but it's very pretty because you get to see the mountainside. You're driving along, and it's just winding. You come around corners. Some of them you're going like 25 miles an hour because you have to go so slow and so careful. And all too often, that's exactly what happens when we are in pursuit toward our goal, okay? Now the trick, successful people, whoops, just lost a little bit of the guy here, sorry about that. Successful people, all they do is keep things as close as possible in a straight line. And the way that they do that, high achievers, phenomenal, world-class entrepreneurs, the way that they do this is they say no to things that don't fit in their plan. I mean, it's really quite logical and quite simple. If it isn't part of this line right here, they're going to say no to it. They get really good at saying no, 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 Nope, nope, nope. Yes, because it fits, all right? No, 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 no. Yes, etc., etc. That's how they do that. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I'm not in a position to do that right now for whatever reason. And that's fine. That's the goal. That's where you want to get to. That's what you're trying to get to the point of being able to do. You have to be careful, obviously, when you're dealing with relationships and people, and you've got family members, and there's a lot of layers that you have to be careful of. But generally speaking, the majority of the things that are going to take you all over the place are completely worthless. I call it throwaway knowledge, right? How much time have you spent watching the news in this last week? Watching movies, binge watching. I keep saying watching, but you could say a lot of things. Watching probably is the number one use of wasted time. How much time have you spent just scrolling down your feeds, your social media feeds, replying to comments that somebody on the other side of the world posted that because you now saw it, you're like, oh, I have to respond. I can't not respond. I mean, the comment's right there. I have to say something. Besides, it's just a few seconds of my time. I'll just hop on. Boom. Right? But the highest achievers, they don't do stuff like that. You don't see Elon Musk going in and commenting on a bunch of people's Facebook feeds. Why? Because that's this. That's taken him all over the place. He's focused, right? He knows where he's going, and if it doesn't fit into his plan, he's going to say no to it because it doesn't matter. How much of the things that you're learning today, how much of the things you're spending time on today are going to matter tomorrow? It's a good question to ask yourself. So you have to get good at saying no. And you know what? The scary part, or the challenging part with some of that is you're going to say no to some good stuff. You're going to say no to fun stuff. You're going to say no to things that are interesting and cool, and that's what's good. That's where it's going to be a little hard because you have to exercise self-control. You have to say no if you want to get there faster. Now, if you want to take your time and mosey, totally fine, right? But this blog down below, what you're going to read about, is all about how you can stay focused. So I've identified, I think there's 6 or 8 probably, different ways that you can stay focused so that when you're heading towards your goal, all this stuff is still going to be there, right? It's still going to be there, but it's not going to take you away from your straight line. It's not going to divert you. It's still all around you. You can't control that. It's just going to be here, and you are going to have the self-control to say no and cut right through it. So we have to live in the world today. I'm not saying say no to technology. I'm not saying don't ever watch a movie. I'm not saying don't ever sit down and enjoy some free time. No, there has to be balance, but it needs to be intentional. It needs to be something you have planned to do. Otherwise, you allow yourself to get off track today. It's going to happen again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And it's going to become a habit where things control you instead of you controlling things or your day or your schedule, right? So anyways, just a few thoughts that I wanted to pass along, because focus really is at the heart of so much when it comes to goal setting and productivity. We all know what we need to do. I mean, most of us, we have a good idea. And when we don't, even just some movement forward will reveal answers, right? That's why people like Simon Sinek talk about getting to know your why first. The how and the what aren't nearly as important as your why, because as you start moving forward toward your why, the how and the what, the answers, they reveal themselves, and that's where you have to have a little bit of faith. This all ties in. I go in a lot more in depth in my course with this, but there really is truth around that. So when you don't have all the answers, that's fine, but say no to anything that doesn't pertain to you achieving your goal, and you'll be amazed at how much faster and easier it is to get there. So focus on the things that are most important, focus on the things that matter, focus on the things that they're going to keep moving you forward. That's the key. And I encourage you, I put a lot of heart and soul into the blog below. Thanks for coming here, by the way, and for reading this, and for caring enough about yourself to learn more on the topic of focus, because it's one of my favorite topics, because it has to do with time management, productivity, like all that stuff. And it's such a huge problem in the world. I can't remember this. The statistics are staggering. I think we check our phones 80 some odd times every single day. It's like we have an addiction to distraction. And if we're not careful, that addiction will just stay with you like a barnacle on the side of a ship through your whole life and bog you down and keep you from the prize. So enjoy the reading. Comment below. I've got a little bonus that I want you to take action on. It's at the bonus. There's a little link at the bottom of a little activity you can download just to really hit home the point that if you lose focus or if you try to do too many things at once, you become really ineffective. So download it, try it out, enjoy the blog, and I hope it helps.